Genetic engineering. It's a fascinating topic. In this video series, you're going to learn about the ethical considerations and usage of biotechnology when it comes to forensics, medicine, agriculture, and a variety of other applications that we can apply it to, even in medicine. Selective breeding is thought to be an old human thing, but it's getting even more technologically advanced and savvy these days. So when I say selective breeding, I'm talking about like artificially bred organisms. We breed them for a desired trait. They're called GMOs in the food world, genetically modified organism. But how farm animals are made, or farming, that's a producing of a pharmaceutical on farm animals or plants. That has a lot to do with genetic engineering. So we're not just selectively breeding or artificially breeding organisms to have a desired trait, to get to the tomatoes that have the most luscious look. We're actually trying to produce pharmaceuticals by using farm animals and farm plants, by genetically modifying them. And so these genetically altered organisms have a very, very useful contribution to society. By looking at the diagram here, if we take a strand of DNA from tomato, and we can genetically engineer the tomato's DNA to be more pesticide resistant, or yield some sort of like a vitamin or artificial component that's nutritious. We can also have it produce a protein that can make it more drought resistant, or increase the thickness of its cell walls to increase its shelf life. So these genes that we've inserted into the tomato genome, we have got them from other places. So genetically modified organisms, it's not necessarily such a bad thing. We're trying to increase the vitality of our food, the safety of our food, the shelf life of our food, breed or produce more food, like have a better yield. But at the same time, we are definitely modifying the DNA sequencing of tomatoes, for example. That's not always about food. Sometimes selective breeding has to do with domesticating things. Like we have not only domesticated crops, but we've also domesticated animals. Like all of our pets are really a result of selective breeding. All the species that you're seeing right here are just really one species. This is Canis familiaris, or also known as the pet dog. And these guys have been selected for special traits to produce a whole variety of different looks and breeds. So we have interbred these species. We've crossed individuals that are very, very closely related, and we have gotten these selective traits, like webbed feet for dogs that swim, or very long nose for dogs that need a high, keen sense of smell, or dogs that actually have hair instead of fur to become more hypoallergenic. This can cause health problems. A lot of these guys can have joint issues because they've been inbred from, they're breeding with a genetic lineage that's very closely related to them. That can cause, issues with purebred animals. But we've done this for, thousands and thousands of years, to select for a trait or some sort of skill that the dog may have that can benefit us to be a hunting companion, or even just a snuggly lapdog. Hybridization is a different type of selective breeding. That's between two breeds that are unrelated. This occurs between two different species, and the offspring are often hardier than their parents. Do you think that you could tell what this creature has been crossed with? What are the two species that make up the creature in front of you? You may have guessed a liger. This is a cross between a tiger and a lion. And obviously this is a very well taken care of liger, judging by its body size and its massiveness. I think that this liger might be slightly overweight, but wow, she sure is beautiful though, isn't she? You can really tell that she looks kind of like a lion, but she's patterned like a tiger. Not every human's going to find genetic engineering fascinating, nor are they going to find the use of how we do this in biotechnology, use in medicine, as pleasing. And each country or different communities, they have their own different view system on this. So this does have a societal impact. Ultimately, we want genetic engineering, biotechnology to better diagnose and treat disease. That's what we're all in favor for. We want to potentially even prevent disease from happening at all. And altering affected genes through this gene therapy is a positive thing when done properly to treat most of the time children who are suffering from disease that they didn't have any control over. They were given those genes. But producing these pharmaceuticals and farm animals and plants that can be hardier and healthier, and using microorganisms for environmental cleanup, something we haven't really talked about, but types of organisms that can actually ingest, digest, and transfer oil, petroleum products from oil spills, and even in forensics, using them to solve, police investigations, and then of course, our food. There's a good chance if you go into the grocery store and you look in the produce section, you're not looking at anything that's not genetically modified. Most people, most teenagers especially, you've never seen a non-genetically modified banana or tomato or orange for that matter. They have been engineered to be very shelf stable, resist infection from pesticides and pests, and also to look more beautiful, to make oranges more orange colored and tomatoes more bright red. When they're more appealing to our eye, we're likely to buy them and be happier with our food selection.